I'll start letting people in. Should be ready to go with that. Yeah.
Ethan, did you share, could you share with Julia? You got her
Oh
on
yeah,
there?
I'll give her access. Yeah.
I give her
Yep.
access.
She's
All
got
right.
it.
Okay, perfection.
Cool. All right. Admit. Excellent. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Great to see you once again here. It's going to be a very fun session, action-packed, lots of new people to meet and learn from. And I'm getting the meeting started slightly late today just because a lot going on. And so I'll try to be very quick and we'll run into the session. First of all, we do want to let people know where you are and what's going on, especially folks out there at Facebook and YouTube who might be coming across this for the first time. This is Piano Tech Radio Hour. And with Piano Tech Radio Hour, we have a program where we meet each week to meet with and learn from some of the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world. And this could include folks from manufacturers to rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and create an ever more musical world together. This program, Piano Tech Radio Hour, is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And of course, if you'd like to keep up with us and attend every live session and support the future growth of the production, you can subscribe at bit.ly/joinptrh, bit.ly/joinptrh. And that's the basic introduction. There's some other links and things I'll share with folks in the chat. Out on the socials, I'll try to give you a link so you can join the Zoom call if you'd like to. Let me actually also just check and see if anybody else needs to be let in. I think we're pretty good there. Yeah, so there'll be other links that I'll share in the chat just for some recent classes that we've had. I'll get a link in there. So if people want to actually attend the concerts that we're going to talk about today, you'll be able to find access to do that. And I don't want to talk too much more before getting started. And so what we'll do is we will briefly introduce Hannah. We've done other introductions of her in the past. I'll bring her up. I'll spotlight her and myself. So Hannah is someone that we started to engage with several months ago. She's very passionate about music and especially stretto pianos, which are pianos which have smaller than normal size keys to accommodate people with, I wouldn't even say smaller than normal sized hands. I would just say like on the spectrum of normal sized hands, which just happen to be smaller than what pianos are made for, put it that way. And so she's on a mission to kind of make piano playing more accessible at the higher levels to all sorts of individuals. And she has a deep musical history herself of performance. She does Joni Mitchell music and all sorts of composition, and she's very creative, done some documentary work. But yeah, that's a brief introduction. I want to hand it over to you, Hannah. We're going to let you kind of run the show today and introduce us to some of your fine friends. So welcome, Hannah.
Thank you, Ethan. I'm so happy to be here today. And we are so excited to present these wonderful and talented artists who will be playing for the third International Stretto Piano Festival. This is our third season, but is our first season where I'm actually renting a legitimate hall in New York City. It's a 175-seat hall called Engelman Recital Hall on East 25th Street. It's part of the Baruch College campus, or BPAC, Baruch Performing Arts Center, and it is beautiful. It will have two choices of key size, a full-size Model D Steinway Concert Grand, and my 7'4" Model C Steinway from 1900 that was rebuilt to have small keys in 1997. And I want to also thank Floating Piano and Ethan for being our sponsors and for providing technical service and tunings for the 5 days of concerts. But without any further ado, I would like to just jump in and say you can see all of the artists at stretopianoconcerts.org/2023. But I'd really like to introduce our first artist so we don't run out of time with everyone. We want to listen to their music, we want to talk to them, and we want to know all about them. So I am going to read a little quotation from the website ChristopherO'Reilly.com, and I'm sure that some of the listeners today know who Christopher is. He says, music is a force for epiphany in our lives as we relish and acknowledge each serendipitous yet inevitably life-changing moment of listening, performing, studying, talking about, collaborating, teaching, perpetually experiencing music. These epiphanies suffuse my heart from many different genres of music, different media too. It's a wonderful life. It was serendipitous that I re-met Christopher and invited him, and he accepted to play for our festival. He's someone that I've admired for decades in my life and who is some kind of genius with his amazing multiple abilities and talents. His legacy is great playing, arranging, interpreting, recording, and performing in great concert halls. He also became a media personality for one of the top, if not the top, classical music radio show, From the Top, for many years. Some of you might know this. This expanded the ears and hearts of innumerable listeners and allowed them to know classical music playing by the virtuoso under 20 crowd, like teens and even young children, led by him on a weekly basis on NPR. He has interpreted fabulous music from Bach to Berlioz to Radiohead and beyond. We are super excited to include Chris and his virtually tempered clavier in the Stretto Piano Festival. This concert celebrates 300 years of the masterwork by J.S. Bach, the Well-Tempered Clavier, books 1 and 2, both of which have 24 preludes and fugues written in all the major and minor keys for the keyboard. So this is a recording from book 1 at the prelude and fugue in E major. Let's listen.
Did everyone see that?
Yep, we can see. And did you share computer audio on that?
Yeah, yes, I did. Hold on.
Great.
Not letting me move my screen. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Can you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yes. You did.
That sounded great.
It sounded okay for you guys. Okay, great. My Wi-Fi is a little weak here, so I'll trust you on that.
No, it didn't sound great. I'm wondering.
Oh, it didn't sound great. Yeah.
Mm.
Did you so when you did your screen share, there's a little box to check at the bottom that says share computer audio. Did you choose that one?
Oh, I did. Hold on. Share computer audio. I'm going to try it one more time. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah. You unshare, and then when you also you can check before you try sharing on the upper left-hand corner, it will ask if you want to do original sound for musicians. It might be naturally off, and then you could click it and turn it on.
Hold on.
Yep.
Oh. Share sound. Okay. There we go. All right. How about?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I could have sworn I had that one. Okay. There we go.
Bravo. So
Amazing.
how are you, Chris?
I'm good, Hannah. It's so good to see you. Thank you for
It
having me.
is. We've had quite a Facebook Messenger exchange going on for some months now, and I'm especially glad that you could join us today so that we could talk a little in person.
Really.
So I didn't mention when I said there would be multiple instruments on the stage for our festival. We are also going to have a Casio Privia. So this is where I want you to talk to us. What was it that prompted you to use a Casio Privia instead of a grand piano for this project?
Well, I've been traveling with the Privia for a long time as a practice instrument. And it's got great touch. It's got fake wood grain ebonies. I mean, it really has everything that a digital piano can have. But in my pandemic immersion in the well-tempered clavier, I was finding myself getting up earlier and earlier, practicing at 4 or 5 in the morning, and wanting to spare the neighbors, I was on the headphones on the Casio. But after a while, the Casio sound got a little tiresome. So Carlos Rafael Rivera, a film composer, friend of mine, brought me up to date on what other digital pianos were available in digital audio workspaces. So he turned me on. It's so funny that we're on Pianotech. I'm going to talk about Pianotech, TEQ. Pianotech is a whole library of instruments and a whole different technology of sampling technology. In other words, if you're playing on a sampled keyboard, you're basically triggering with the key a sound recording of somebody having recorded a piano in a studio somewhere. With physical modeling, which is the essence of the Pianotech TEQ method, they use something called physical modeling, wherein every aspect of piano sound production is malleable. So, for instance, first of all, you have a huge library of not only every imaginable modern concert grand that you can imagine, but what I got really into was playing the Bach. I've got dozens of harpsichords and forte pianos. So literally, we're celebrating the tricentennial of the well-tempered clavier with 300 years of piano technology, of keyboard technology. And it was especially, instructive to actually play Bach's fugues on his instrument. And so so it's not a matter of bringing a sound. How do we bring a voice out? He had to be able to do it on the harpsichord, and the well-tempered clavier was his course showing us how we could achieve clarity at the keyboard. We're so, the harpsichord was a real mind blower, but also the forte pianos were, and I loved every bit of them. So each one of these instruments is alterable, amenable, so that we can change aspects of the overtone series. I tweak the overtone series on each of my instruments, hammer hardness, impedance, sympathetic resonance, damper noise, everything, the sound of the room. Oh, we can also choose our own microphones and rehang them in the virtual space. So there's really nothing that we can't do with the sound. And each one of these parameters is instantly accessible. So, and on top of that, they have the ability of morphing or stacking instruments. So I play, for instance, the C major prelude and fugue, wanting to start out with a familiar sound that's actually a morphed Bechstein concert grand and a Hamburg Steinway concert grand. So a gene spliced instrument. So
amazing.
My experience of virtual historical instruments has been essential, and I couldn't find it more appropriate to be playing it at Strato Festival, because after all, when did we get such wide keys? I mean, wasn't that Steinway vintage onwards, Hannah? You would know better than I. The harpsichord keys are thinner. I know the fortepiano keys are thinner. I've recorded on a Broadwood before. Yeah, so
I'll send you all the measurements. I got a whole chart from the Metropolitan Museum back in the 90s that I presented at the first Pianotech Radio Hour I did, which is all about this history. So I'll send that to you. Yeah, that's incredible. So are you going to be playing different sounds for different preludes and fugues at the concert?
Yes. A different instrument for each prelude and fugue. Oh, also, I have the ability of playing at different pitch instantaneously and different temperament. I'll be
Right.
playing quite a few of them will be in the temperament that was Bach's favorite at the time, something referred to as Werkmeister 3. And but there will be a couple of well-tempered pieces and then even-tempered 440. Some of the instruments, yeah, I can tell, if the harpsichord is at 415, it doesn't sound as good as it sounds at 385. Likewise, the forte pianos need to be down at 415 or maybe 435 for some of the later forte pianos. So everything is accessible.
That is so much deeper than I had imagined. I'm so
Oh.
happy that we're meeting, and we'll be able to hear more about this when Chris is going to have a chat with Paul Sheftel in person in the concert hall at 4 o'clock, the same day as his concert, which is Thursday, July 20th at 8 p.m. So if you want to hear him talk at greater length about this, Paul, who is also, he's a 90-year-old composer, performer, well-known pianist and pedagogue, is going to be, he's going to be presenting his ideas about some of the preludes, and he's going to be chatting with Chris. So I could talk about this forever, but I got to go on to our next question. When did this project begin exactly, and what did you learn about concert audiences from taking it on? How much have you performed it live so far?
The only time I've actually done it was from the concert that you were just playing from at the University of Eugene. I'd come up with a whole physical presentation to be incorporated with projections, animations by Stephen Malinowski, concert in the round projected on the inside of a tent, but I couldn't quite get somebody interested in that. So this was the first time. So at Stretto will be the first time that I'm playing all of book one in this setting.
Hooray for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Will you be presenting any new project involving Bach, or will you be doing something completely different next? Or do you just want to focus on this for like a year or two?
Oh gosh, no! This is music I'm very passionate about, so I don't think I'll be stopping playing the Well-Tempered Clavier anytime soon. But I'm also playing on a normal Steinway in November on the 20th at the Kennedy Center in Washington D.C., and that will be first half Radiohead and second half the first 12 of Book One.
I love Radiohead. I hope I can come to that, but I think I told you Joni Mitchell's birthday is like the day after your concert. We usually do it.
You'll be busy.
We'll see. If I'm free, I can just, take a bullet train or something. So tell us about the Radiohead project. I've heard some of your interpretations. They're really mind-blowing. If anybody hasn't heard this stuff and you think like, what, Radiohead? It's just a whole array of colors that radio hasn't even done, but the tunes and the anyway, you talk about it. You tell us about it.
Well, it actually had its genesis because when we started from the top, we wanted to incorporate all kinds of music, musical theater and jazz and whatever. And all the classical stations that were entertaining the idea of carrying us said, "Oh, you play 1 minute of jazz, mister, and you are off." So we sort of towed the line. But we had this midway point in the hour where stations could break away and take care of local business, or they would play what we sent them. And we didn't want our young charges to be at the whim of local stations, whether they would be heard or not. So that became my slot to do a little, a Bach prelude or something like that. And so when I started running out of preludes, I decided to, do a little nose thumbing, and I would make these arrangements of Radiohead and Nick Drake and Elliott Smith and whoever I wanted. And I'd play them at the halfway point, and our announcer, Joanne Robinson, would get on and say, that was our host, Christopher O'Reilly, playing Karma Police by Radiohead. And we would get mail into the program saying, who is this? Because they assumed that I was a classical player and I was playing classical. Who is this Mr. Head, and where can I find more of his beautiful music? So that's the story of Mr. Head. So there we are.
Oh my God. Well, kind of on that note, would you tell us a little bit about your childhood and upbringing and how you became this lover of all genres? Because not every classical musician is like that. My dad only liked German classical music, and he would never let me listen to the Beatles. So I would have to hide away in my room because he thought it was just too simple. Tell me about your background.
Yes, I grew up in Evanston, Illinois, and I remember, yeah, I was very devoted to classical music, but as precocious as I was or thought I was, there was nothing that was going to impress the girls with my octaves in the Sixth Hungarian Rhapsody. That just wasn't happening. And meanwhile, my sister had introduced me to the Beatles, and I'd been going ice skating and hearing a lot of top 40, and then getting into, sort of alternative at that point, Led Zeppelin, and there was lots of great radio in Chicago. And so I started getting into this music. And so I thought, well, maybe I should start my own little rock band, and maybe then the girls will like me. So we started a little band, and we played the unfortunate music of the time that involved keyboards, like the Doors and Iron Butterfly and Santana. But that was my entry into popular music.
You were in a band? How old were you when you were in this band?
I had the band from 6th grade onwards.
Did you play Knights in White Satin?
We didn't. I think
our band did that when I was in 7th grade.
Well, there you had somebody with a voice who could sing that. So there you are.
Oh my God, Chris, that is so cool. Okay, another question. What are you, and would you like to be involved with education on any level at this point in your life?
Well, I like to think that the education has been sort of a two-way street. For instance, I remember remarking to young soloists that I'd be playing a Wieniawski piece with, and they'd go off to their cadenza, and they'd be ripping right through it as if the orchestra was still playing behind them. And there were invariably leaps and bounds that could use a little bit of extra care. And I said, when a composer cuts everybody out, they are telling you you are the momentary master of time and space. And it is up to you to take that control and that freedom, and that will allow you to make the sound that you need to. And so, that invariably made for the extraordinary free performances that you heard. And the sense of comfort that you got from the artists was from exactly that kind of license. Okay. So then I bring that back to my own playing, and we're playing solo music, people. Who are we waiting for? What bus do we have to catch, right? Make the time up as you are going. And it doesn't have to be, egregious amounts of rubato, but take the care for each moment. So my immersion in the Bach, in the Well-Tempered Clavier, eventuated in a 40+ hour course, a lecture or a video musing on each one of the 96 preludes and fugues that I called Everything We Need to Know About Playing the Piano We Learned from the Well-Tempered Clavier. And it's a cumbersome title, but it is absolutely true. So it became a real method for working through the Well-Tempered Clavier and making actual decisions and empowering those decisions. And it ended up being a real method. We went to teach as an 8-week course at the University of Utah, did another residency of it at University of Eugene, Oregon. If I was going to be doing some more education, I would be taking that course on the road again.
Amazing. Well, I think every university should use it. I so wish we had more time. So I want to tell our audiences, please come and hear Chris speak more about this if you're in New York. God willing, we will be streaming. We're having a production meeting on Monday, and fingers crossed I can somehow do this fantastic project. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we're doing it. I can't wait to see you in New York, Chris. I'll pick you up at the airport. And just sorry that we have to adjourn, but we've got to move right on. Much love to you, and thanks for being here with us.
Thanks. Have a great one.
Too. And I want to thank Julia Ferlin, my assistant, who is helping us with the audio. Now we're going to listen to a beautiful selection by pianist Anna Arazzi. You can hear Anna in person at Engelman Hall in New York City as part of our Stretto Piano Festival on Saturday, July 22nd at 12 noon. And we will stream that one for sure, however we can do it, because Anna is Israeli and she has Israeli audiences, and I know they would like to hear her. I'm not going to tell her whole biography because I want to read something from my colleague Rhonda Boyle's YouTube page, which describes the performance, a section of which we're about to hear. This exciting performance is on a DS 6.0 TM keyboard with keys narrower by 15/16 at the Dallas Chamber Symphony International Piano Competition. Before arriving in Dallas, Anna's practice had been on a standard size keyboard, but her intention was to perform on the narrower keys of a Steinwheeler keyboard available to contestants. Her first ever experience on the DS 6.0 was on Wednesday, 11th of March. This was, I think, in 2016. This performance is the first round of the next day. She has already adapted to the narrower keys as her performance of this fiendishly difficult piece demonstrates, and without her normal pain and tension. Ultimately, she won third prize, and this was the Dallas Chamber Symphony International Piano Competition. It is really amazing how Anna can adapt to different keyboard sizes, which I've experienced with my own eyes and ears when she played in person at our 2021 and 2022 festivals in New York City, and she traveled to New York to do that. I mean, it's amazing, but I also think it is easy to adapt. It's amazing to see when the piece is as difficult as this Prokofiev piano concerto. So go ahead, Julia, show us a couple of minutes.
Everyone see my screen? Yep. All right. just in the interest of time, it's a hard piece to find a stopping point, but that was amazing. Let's stop here. Awesome. So good.
Bravo, Anna. So wonderful. Okay.
Thank you. It brings back all the excitement of that performance. Thank you.
Julia, can you help me out and put both me and Anna on the main screen?
Yep, coming up. One sec.
Thank you, Ethan. Anna, it's so good to see you again.
So wonderful to see you, Hannah.
What a breathtaking
Thank you for
performance.
bringing me here.
Oh, I'm so excited about Anna's concert. This is her third year in a row with us. Our first year, we were all doing virtual concerts and we met in an empty room and I heard her playing the piano so beautifully. I remember her sitting down and trying my piano, just immediately adjusting and saying, I love it. And that made me love my piano even more. Because I knew someone with real talent would benefit from it. So why don't you just jump in and tell us about your history with Stretto pianos? How many years have you played them?
Oh my goodness. So that was really the first time I was playing the Stretto pianos. What we just heard, I arrived to Dallas one day before the first round. And I went on to try the piano and I was thinking to myself, what am I doing? It's crazy. It's how am I going to adjust? But, you know, it really doesn't take much time to make the adjustment. It's actually easier to play. It's more relaxed. It's so much fun. Now, I learned about these pianos 1 year before this competition. I went to Serbia, to Novi Sad, to the World Piano Teachers Conference. And there was a wonderful presentation by Erika Booker from Australia. It was called, I think, one size does not fit all ergonomically scaled keyboards. And clearly she couldn't bring her one of her 4 pianos, I think, to Serbia. So she was just explaining this concept and showing some data. And she was also taking measurements of the hands of the people attending the presentation. And I thought it was a really neat idea. And then she also mentioned that there are some pianos available in the States. And I thought, wow, I would love to try these. And then a few months later, I learned about this Dallas competition. So I decided I want to go and try it. It sounds like a really exciting idea. What I did not take into account was that occasionally I would have some tension and pain in my hands. And it's really, I think, well, partially maybe it's some professional injury because my hands are not huge. They're kind of a medium size for a female player. But playing on a standard size keyboard is hard for medium-sized female players. So I got to competition with a lot of pain, and it was hard, and the program was really demanding. And then this new piano that I needed to adjust, and I was thinking to myself, I'm completely nuts. But sitting at this piano and playing it felt like a relaxation and therapy, and practicing maybe for a couple of hours felt like I was taking a deep rest and my pain was gone. And the following day I went on and I played at this first round. And that was the first time I actually felt, after completing this concerto, that I can just go on and play it again. I was so excited. I had so much energy, and I never felt so good.
Well, one of our missions is to help Anna have a piano like this in her home and in a concert hall in Boston, ASAP. So Piano Technician World, if you'd like to help us out in any way, this lady is absolutely worth all the time and effort, just like it was for all of the other pianos around the world. We really, really look forward to having her playing. And by the way, Anna, I may be making a record by October, and I will put my piano in some kind of circumstance where I can make this piano recording. I'd like to officially invite you now to come, and if it's possible, if it's enough time, and if it's financially affordable for both of us, we can both make recordings, okay? We'll talk about
Awesome.
when you get to New York.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, okay? I'll go back to my questions because, yeah, time is slipping by. Tell us about your work with living composers, how you've met them and work with them and what's in store. Anna's first 2 programs were full of premieres, and she's a big supporter of women composers and living composers. I admire her greatly for that.
So, I reached out composition a little bit, and I stopped. But when I moved to Boston University, and here in Boston we have so many and a lot of huge compositional departments. By the requests to perform new music, and I'm really anything new, so I started doing it. At the same time, I was also teaching, and I had a full bunch of young students. Every time I would bring them to a new music concert, so we would talk about new music. Their reaction, something like, "Oh, we didn't, I didn't know the composers exist. I think they extinct like dinosaurs," because they don't really. And so I next time I was approached by one of these young composers, I told, "Hey, how about we collaborate and make something together? I have here this bunch of really wonderful. They would love to hear your music." And in person of Adam Burns, we collaborated a lot later. He started composing short pieces for my students. I would stay to do what I want them to do, and he would really create something very interesting that my students would absolutely fall in love. So that's how it all started. I'm also very interested in female composers. So I started working with a British composer, Angela Slatter, who is he's running a wonderful project that's called Illuminate Female Composer, and she's promoting young female composers around the world, and she's also promoting works by historical female composers. So I got to do a lot with her. I work with some female composers from my home country, from Israel. And in this last festival, the second festival, I also performed pieces by a good friend of mine, Tatiana Afanasenko, who's in Kyiv. And she was composing some of these pieces literally since the basement.
Your audio is coming in and out. I'm not exactly sure why, or if we can fix that. I'm sorry. I heard most of it. I don't know about everybody else. We're going to have to, I have to abbreviate because we have to try to finish a little bit after 3. I just wanted to ask you one last thing, and then we can continue talking. And everybody, like I said about Chris, come to New York and hear Anna in person. It will be a wonderful concert. Do you think that Israel could be a likely place for a Strezzo piano? Why or why not?
I am sure it's a wonderful place. I think every place in the world is a wonderful place for Strezzo pianists. There are kids and female and players. They need to have this option. That's absolutely true for any country.
Do you think that Israel would welcome it?
I think so. So I think on one hand, Israel is a small country, so having even 1 or 2 pianos would really expose most of the musicians there to the potential. You don't need to be in their bunch. one
Right.
to absolutely enough for everyone to know. Israel, I'm generalizing a little bit, but I would say it's a little bit more on the conservative side. It would take some effort to go past some biases. You know, people say we don't need this, or we want the challenge, or my hands are big enough. You know, there is a lot of things people say when you introduce them to the idea of Strata pianos. I'm sure it's all doable, and because this is a small country, I think it's a wonderful place to try. You know, Israel is a good lab for many projects. I think this one.
Okay, everybody, please read about Anna Aratzi at her website, annaaratzi.com. All of our artists have very easy ways to find them: ChristopherO'Reilly.com, annaaratzi.com, and ronfeng.com, who is going to be our wonderful last artist we're going to talk to today. See you in New York, Anna. We'll be in touch soon, okay?
See you.
All right. Now you can hear Ron in person at Engelman Hall in New York City as part of the Stretto Piano Festival on Saturday, July 22nd at 7 p.m. In addition to works by Brahms and Schubert Liszt, she will play the first movement of the Sonata for Piano from 1960 by the living composer David Amram, who we are very, very honored to have as part of the festival. He is on our advisory board and a close friend of mine. He wrote an incredible sonata in 1960, which fuses jazz elements, but it is a through composed, difficult piano masterpiece. And Ron has agreed to play the first movement, and another pianist, Yoshiko Klein, will play the second and third movements. We're hoping she can demonstrate a little bit for us on her piano, Steinway Stretto piano in Texas, but we will hear a selection in a minute. She is a remarkable young virtuoso who has won many awards. And like I said, you can read about her on her website, ronfeng.com. Her hometown is Guiyang in the south of China, and she left China when she was 15 years old and studied in Europe for about 12 years in Ukraine, and at the Tchaikovsky Conservatory, and at the International Piano Academy Incontri con Maestro in Imola, Italy. She studied in Manchester, UK. She got her postgraduate diploma at the Berklee College of Music in Boston, and she's now a doctoral candidate at the University of North Texas in Denton. And I am an absolute fan of her remarkable playing. Let's hear a sample, Julia.
Okay, again, another hard beat to cut short, but we'll stop there. Wonderful. So good.
Hello, Ron. How lovely to
Hello,
see
hi.
you here with us.
Hello, hi everyone.
Yeah, that was one of the highlights for me last year when listening to all of the 32 concerts we had online. It was really mostly an online concert last year. And I thought, who is this remarkable woman from China who understands Western music so beautifully, really, really understands the language of classical music. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank
So
you.
many questions, but I guess the first one is, how did you come to play a stretto piano?
Well, so first of all, before I'm talking about this, I want to make sure that you can hear my voice. So last year, my professor at UNT, which is the University of North Texas, Dr. Paul Mia Pamela, and she introduced me to this festival, Stretto Festival. And she said to me, like, there is a performance opportunity. Why she's talking about this? Because after pandemics, all things locked down and all things trying to get back in normal. So as I am used to be a concert pianist and play a lot of concert, but after this pandemic, that most of events were canceled. So she told me like there is a performance opportunity, but the only thing that might be different is playing my pieces on a narrow keyboard instead of a conventional one. And I was quite not so understand what she's talking about because I never heard a piano like a narrow piano, a narrow keyboard. And then, so she was probably a bit worried that I might decline this invitation. So she explained to me that it's not a challenge to play on a narrow keyboard piano. And the only things that I need to do is just practice on it a few days before I record my performance. And she told me like the most important thing that I would feel, which is I would feel more comfortable and confident playing on this keyboard than any conventional one. Because since I don't have a large hand as a man, as Rachmaninoff, yes. So, so my school here, the University of North Texas, and has this small keyboard which is built up by the Dan Buchler.
Yes, Steinbuehler, DS
yeah.
keyboards, right?
This keyboard function could replace a conventional keyboard and just replace it. So we have this chance to record. And on the other hand, in North Texas here, the Texas Center for Performing Arts Health had the Steinway piano with a Stretto keyboard for research purpose. So this is what I'm going to show everyone. So now I'm at this room, which is had a Stretto keyboard. So you can see it looks just like normal piano, right? But I can reach 10th. I can reach 10th. This things is what I couldn't do in a conventional keyboard. So when I play octave, I feel like I'm playing the 5th or 6th on a conventional keyboard. But for me, the most surprising thing is I finally can reach the 10th. And I finally can play some Rachmaninoff's music. I finally can play original chord that composed, wrote it down on the music score. So, I mean, for me, it is really a big surprise.
You were happy, right? When you started, what was the feeling you had, and the how did you feel when you first started to practice?
So as a pianist who study and who learn playing piano for more than 25 years, I was not quite immediately get into this instrument because in some lengths, for instance, so jumping the octave, I have this physical memory that
Of
could
course.
help us. But now I have to try to think about how could I jump from one octave to another octave, maybe move shorter than I was used to do. Yes. So for me, it's really a big surprise that I know that, oh, in this world that we have this instrument could play, and we have the second choice.
Yes, yes.
This is quite important. We have the second choice.
Please, let me ask Ethan quickly, how are we doing with time, Ethan?
We're doing good. Yeah. I mean, typically we end by now, but you know, you can go over 5 or 10 minutes. I don't think that's a problem. If
I'll
that works
ask-
for you. Does that give
thank-
you enough time?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to ask Ron a few more questions because
Go
I'm
for it.
sure people are curious about her and how this all happened for her. How old were you when you started playing piano, Ron?
Well, I was 4 years old when I started to learn playing piano.
And why did you leave China at age 15?
Well, at the time that I had a dream as a teenager, I was always dreaming something else as a teenager. But one day I found a CD alarm in a CD shop, and I was so touched by Rachmaninoff's music, and especially his the second piano concerto. Then I decided to dedicate my whole life to piano. So I talked with my parents. I say, like, the famous pianists, so you say this Lang Lang and blah blah, those very great pianists, they studied abroad when they are super young. So it's kind of very live idea to talk with my parents, like, I would like to study abroad. Yeah, but my parents was seriously considering my thoughts, so they support me. So,
That's wonderful.
yes.
That's wonderful. And do you speak any of the European languages?
yes, I speak Russian because I was studying in Ukraine, and I speak a little bit, a very basic Italian. Yeah, so, and then Chinese, Mandarin, and English.
You know, as musicians, we hear a lot of different languages. And I remember Andras Schiff at an interview once saying that, you know, if you understand what Hungarian sounds like, you can play
Yes.
Bartok
Yes,
with a
exactly.
Hungarian accent. There's a certain way of
Yes.
phrasing things. So the fact that you understand Russian probably loaned to your, I hope we can hear you play Rachmaninoff one of these days. We'll work on a concert for you for that. And tell me also, how are you finding working on David Amram's sonata? Ron has decided to write her doctoral thesis on David's piece, which was so exciting for both of us. He can't wait to hear you. So tell us a little bit about your exploration with that.
Well, I actually just started to learn this piece, but I listened this recording and I try to figure out this how the technique of playing this piece, and I found it's quite not so it keeps its classical side, but at the same time it has some evolutions of jazz style. So
Harmonies, right? Lots of jazz harmonies,
yes.
9th, 11th, 13th.
Yes, exactly. So I think it's a very new experience for me, and as well for the audience. So I hope that I could bring my best, or bring his best music on the stage in the next month, in July 22nd. Yeah.
That's very ambitious to be able to do that in such a short time. We're very grateful. And I have a recording. David sent me a new recording, a much cleaner recording. So I'm going to send you a link, a playlist.
Yeah.
So let's see. I have so many questions for you. What were the greatest challenges of coming to the US and Europe to study and to concertize?
I think it's how could we say, it's kind of like the network, because you are absolute stranger in
Yeah.
Europe, in US. No one knows you, and your family is not here. Your family is not there. So you have to really to be confident to talk with other people. And well, there is an easiest way for the pianist to tell people who you are, which is participating the piano competition. So that's why since I started to learning playing piano in Ukraine, I already started to think about participate many competition, because this was the only way that I could do at my time. But now we have a social media platform, and the internet is super. It's super helpful for the musicians. So everyone have had the chance to introduce themselves. So it's quite different. Yeah.
Yeah. The first time I met Ron on Zoom, I'll never forget. She said to me, Hannah, this Stretto Piano Festival is powerful. We need to bring it to China. So that is my mission with Ron. However we figure out doing that, we're going to do it.
Yeah, because for me personal, I have some difficult to play tense, but I don't have some difficult to play the piano on a conventional keyboard. But many Asian pianists, they have problem. It's not just about female or male. They both have a problem playing on the conventional keyboard. So I
Right.
think it is very important to tell them we have second choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be part of that conversation. And I'm very grateful to you and to Anna and to Chris O'Reilly and to you, Ethan. Thank you so much for extending this for us and for just having us. I'm just filled with inspiration listening to these incredible artists, and I hope we can continue far into the future with all of you.
Indeed, yes. And we appreciate you sharing all of this with us, Hannah. I think we found a really great overlap here between our two projects, and or multiple projects here, of course. Because you're there in New York producing the concert, and we have Floating Piano Factory there. We can come and kind of support you as a team over there too. So that's very fun. And I think it's we all have our mission in life, or multiple missions, things that we're passionate about. And I think it's great to see your passion for this, and also to see things coming together. The concert looks like it's coming together to be a magical experience again this year. And we encourage everybody to continue to get involved with it. Shall I walk us out? Did you have any
One
last words?
request.
Yeah.
I want you to put Julia Furlan on the split screen with me, because I
Oh, yeah.
could not be doing any of this without her.
All right,
At
give
the
me one
moments
sec.
when I feel like I'm going to be just like pass out, her collaborating with me and helping with me with Julia had got her master's in piano performance and pedagogy at Salem College in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, on a Stretto piano there. And she is just the most fabulous thing that's happened to this whole project, because we both live in New York and we've been working together on it since January, right? Before?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really about the team. This is not about one person, it's about all of us doing it together. So thank you again, Ethan.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and great work, everyone. We can definitely tell there's a team behind this. It's it's if you're trying to stand in the way, of Stretto pianos, there's a ambitious mob ready to ready to pull you over. So
Small-handed mom will come for you.
yeah, it's coming. It's coming. There's
We're
no
unstoppable.
there's no stopping it. Yeah. Excellent stuff. All right. Well, I'll walk us off and then we'll cut out and Hannah, if you want to jump back on the Zoom after I end it, we can do a wrap up or whatever. But yeah, and anyone else from your team that wanted to join too as well. But I will do our official walkout here just to clarify what's going on and what just happened to you. We have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thanks to Hannah and Stretto Piano Festival and all of the guests that joined us today. I did get everybody's websites and put it in the chat, both on the social media and here in our Zoom call. So you can check those links out and follow up on the artists that are close to your heart. As always, we are brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us today by signing up for this session individually, you can make your life more convenient. You can subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour. It's just $16 a month. So you'll get the recording of today's session in a member area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session. You can sign up for that at bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. Thanks again for everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Have a great day. Have a